Okay, so we have prepared UserRest class and we have created UserData object. And in this video, we're going to make use of these two classes and update our createUser method inside of UserController. So I will copy a little code snippet here and I will walk you through of what's going on. Well, the first line is I'm simply creating a return value of UserRest data type. This is the information that's going to be returned. So I'm simply instantiating a new object of UserRest. At the next two lines, I'm creating a UserData object, and I'm going to populate this object with information that I have received from the request body. And for that, I'm using beanUtils class. Let me import this class. It comes from Spring Framework, and what it does, if I move mouse over, it copies properties from source object into a target object. So my source object is UserDetails, and my target object is UserData object. So I'll import UserData object as well. And now when I have UserData object populated with information that came from the request body, I will make use of a UserService class, which we're still going to prepare, and I will call createUser method, passing on the UserData object. UserData object is a shared class that can be used across different layers. We are creating it at the UI level, and then we are passing it to the service layer. And then our service class will perform some additional business logic, will generate some additional values, will add those values to UserData object, and that UserData object will then be used in business logic with a data layer to prepare an entity class. And it is the entity class that will be stored in a database. And once createUser method is done its work, it will return back a UserData object, which we can use to populate return value with information that we are going to return back to the user. For example, UserData object will now contain public user ID, which we will return back as part of the return value. So I will uncomment the second line, which will take the created user object, and it will then copy information from the created user object into the return value object. And finally, we will return value back to the calling client. It can be mobile application, or in my case, it's going to be a Postman HTTP client. So I will delete this return value. And we have a compile time error at this moment because we did not create user service. We will need to auto-wire it. But before I do it, I will create user service interface and user service interface implementation. And once we have created these classes, we will auto-wire them into this user controller. So let's do that.